Bull Ring, Aragon. Just trying to think off the top of my head. We've had the likes of Aragon. We went to Imola. We've had so much action, and unfortunately it is beginning to come to a close. Races 13 and 14 we take here. And speaking of the fact that the championship is coming to a close, let's take a quick look as to how things rack up in said championship, because while Mariusz Zabdir has looked very, very good throughout the course of the entire season, Lloyd Biddulph with 4 race victories in a row, spanning from the Red Bull Ring all the way back to last time at Imola. Race 1, race 2, race 1, race 2. He is absolutely flying, and now the gap is only 17 points. That is less than a race victory. Could we still see a fight for the top place in the championship and the fight for 150 Great British pounds in a couple of weeks' time? Marko Misevic rounds off a fairly conservative P3. Nenad Vladisevic marginally off the top 3, though a very consistent season for him. Then comes the Swissman and Pascal Jean-Pietro in P5, unfortunately losing Luciano Vitfit from the championship after a poor showing at the Red Bull Ring. Adam Axon, Stu Neal, Shores Oyster and Phil Lawson, your top 10, with Simon Trippsix just outside that. Benny Norton on a resurgence after a very slow start to the season. Really got things going, though, as soon as we took to rounds 4 and 5 at Portimao. That was the one I was forgetting, it was Portimao. After that, it has been point scoring ever since. Victor Bernat Rubio, Nikola Nasic, unfortunately we have both lost. Riz Butcher rounds off the top 15, and I'm sure you guys are very capable of reading at home. Again, let us know if there are any audio issues, if I'm speaking too loudly, if I'm speaking too quietly, if the game is too loud, whatever it is, let us know in the YouTube chat. It's a pleasure to have you along here on the Trippsix Motorsport YouTube channel, by the way. And my name is Zach Sweeney. I forgot to say that. My name is Zach Sweeney. Welcome in. It's a pleasure to have you all here, and it's a pleasure to be your commentator to talk you through all of the action, as I have done for the entirety of the season. As it stands, the drivers are in a quick practice. 3.5 minutes left to go on said one, and once again, Lloyd Biddulph and Mariusz Zabdir, 3/1000ths of a second separating them, and once again, it is so ridiculously close. Around a 2-minute 14 lap, 6.14 kilometers as well around Mount Panorama, full of some of the trickiest corners known to motorsport, through McPhillamy Park, into Skyline, through the S's, the Dipper, Forest Elbow. It is such a tricky circuit. It's such a driver's circuit, particularly in these touring cars. So the fact that it's 3/1000ths of a second of a gap in practice is phenomenal. Of course, recently the most recent addition to the race room ranked events took place here in Bathurst on Friday evening, the Bathurst 2 hours. We saw our very own Mariusz Zabdir take to the circuit, qualified P11, finished P4 in the very singular, the only person in the Chevrolet. Played the strategy well. His pace wasn't great, but he played the consistent game and he got his way up to 4th place. So again, he's got the recent knowledge of the track. He's got the recent morale of the track. He knows his way around. So we'll wait and see as to what he can do in terms of maybe stretching his advantage in the championship. But all it takes is one more race for Mariusz Zabdir today, and Lloyd Biddulph is back into the fight. Hello to Gregor. I can see you in the YouTube chat. Welcome into you. Good evening to you. It's lovely to have you. And you will notice my voice is a little bit on the worst side. Not only have I got a cold, I've also been up since 4:30 this morning for a 2-hour stint on the iRacing 24 hours of the Nürburgring, both this morning and yesterday. So that was fun. It was fun, but yeah, has done my voice not a lot of good. So again, excuse me, I've got my Pepsi Max on standby. Other soft drinks are very much available. I don't think responsible wine. We are all good in that regard. But yeah, pleasure to have you all in. And again, let us know if any issues. Coming into today, though, I think the main consensus, the main objective really is going to be aiming for consistency, because naturally the circuit itself is very punishing, particularly in race room, particularly in front-wheel drive touring cars with not a lot of downforce. It is a very difficult circuit, that goes without saying. It is quite literally a mountainous task to tame. For those that can do it best, those that can do it lap after lap after lap, which we aren't going to get many of, just around about 9 laps, I reckon, maybe ticking on to the 10th if we're lucky. but it is going to be all about that consistency, keeping it out of the barrier. That is going to be the difference between winning and losing. But also, you've got that balance. How slow do you go to keep it out of the wall versus how much time you lose to those that are sending it a little bit more? That is the very fine compromise that comes with Bathurst, and one that a lot of people are going to have to try and manage. James Beckett at the moment goes purple to the first sector, 0.3 slower in the middle sector, the one that really matters, I suppose, but P6 as it stands, not doing too bad in the Renault Megane. Across the line, and we'll see what he can do to round off the practice session. It was an improvement of 2:15 dead on that previous lap time. Evening to Callum Moss, pleasure to have you in, of course, and in a couple of moments we'll take ourselves into the 12-minute qualifying. We've done exactly that. 12 minutes for the qualifying underway for the penultimate time. It's so weird saying that. It seems like the season started just yesterday, but it was upwards of almost 2 months ago now. Hang on, no, it was not. Absolutely not. Hang on. Let me. I'm gonna go have a look. I'm skeptical now. I know it's been a long time, but it's not been a long time. We went to Silverstone on the 26th of March. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I live in denial. And no, not the river in Egypt. That is absolutely, honestly, this season has gone ridiculously quick. Obviously, with a couple of delays, we should, in theory, have already wrapped up this season and crowned our champion. Speaking of champions, by the way, I know I've touched on it already. The winner of the championship, Marius Stabdir, Lloyd Biddulph. Who knows? 150 Great British pounds go into their pocket, courtesy, obviously, of our very own Rich Wetherill, who is awesome. Takes good care of everyone here. Very fair and a very nice guy. Please don't fire me. Second place gets themselves 100 Great British pounds, and third place gets themselves 50. So 300 pounds for the championship prize pool alone, plus because of Rich's endless benevolence, his omni-benevolence, he has kindly thrown in an extra 40 quid for a bit of an extra prize pot on the end. Those that completed 14 of the 16 races are going to be able to get their name in the hat, which rounds off today. So those that have completed all the races today automatically, up to today, I mean, the likes of Marius Stabdir, Biddulph, Misevic, Nenad Vladisevic, Alan Axon, Stu Neal. I'm just scrolling through the championship standings as it stands, which was always a note. So a fair few people, to say the least. But they get their name into a hat. Rich is going to close his eyes, swivel his hand around, pull a name out, read it out, boom, 40 quid. And as I've said, buy yourself a takeaway. I don't know. Don't care really what you do with it. Just, yeah, awesome. But yeah, it's not too bad at all. So if your name's Marius Stabdir or Lloyd Biddulph, you win the championship and you win the extra 40 quid on top, you're going to be laughing. So, but yeah, as it stands, we're in qualifying. The drivers have just taken to their full out lap, which means they are going to get one less lap in this qualifying session. With, unlike closed qualifying sessions, you don't start before the final corner, and that's your out lap. You start in the pit lane, you have to do a full out lap, then you can go around again. So through Griffin's Bend, and this is Lloyd Biddulph, who was fastest in the practice session, as we noted, 3/1000ths of a second quicker than Marius Stabdir. But the thing is because it's an open qualifying, and what that means is, like you can see, there are plenty of cars on circuit. They're all together. They all share the same circuit. They don't get their own private Mount Panorama. Oh no, they get to deal with it all themselves, with each other, hand in hand, proper brethren. But the problem with that is, because of the nature of Bathurst and how difficult it can be to overtake, particularly if you're sending it through the middle sector, through and up and down the mountain, and you catch up to a driver who is slightly slower than you, you've got problems there, right? Because it's hard to find a way through without slowing yourself down, and if you don't find a way through without slowing yourself down, you're going to slow down anyway. So you do have to be careful. However, if you can find someone who is equal in pace, say Lloyd Biddulph with Marius Stabdir, sit behind them. sit in their slipstream, because it's going to help you now in the downhill, then creeping your way back uphill run on the Conrod straight in towards the chase. It's going to give you that extra little bit of lap time. 37.1 to the first sector for Lloyd Bidoff, 18.5 to the middle. Going into the chase and not actually using the extra bit of tarmac as you run your way in, which is a little bit bizarre. Into the chase, probably going to be one of the biggest overtaken opportunities throughout the 20 minutes that we've got for race 1, and again the reverse top 10 and 20 minutes again for race number 2. I expect the vast majority of it to take place in the final chicane. Who is going to set the benchmark though? Who is going to go to the top of the timer sheets already nearly halfway through? It is going to be, to start with, quite a few people. Lloyd Bidoff goes to the top, Nenad Vladisevic second, but a 14.542 is the standard. I have to say, we've got Rich Weatherall's son on the cameras. He's never really done any production before this. He's just sort of, his dad was like, yeah, cool, we've got a commentator, he needs a Discord stream, get in on it and figure it out. He's actually done a really good job, and he's really good at queuing up things for me. I'll be talking about Lloyd Bidoff, and then he'll know straight away to go to Marius Abdir, and we'll see what Marius Abdir can do across the line. Is it going to be a lap? No. Either that was his first outlap, or he got an invalidation somewhere around the circuit. So now he is going to start it, and with the length of Bathurst, with the short time constraints of this qualifying, it does put a bit more pressure on Zabdir to perform. It means that he gets one less lap than everyone. It means he gets one less banker lap than everyone. It means that everything has to come into the final 2 that he is going to get, because I'm not actually entirely sure as to how the timings are going to work. I think it is slightly offset, so much so that you get 5 laps total. That includes your first out lap, then 3 hot laps. So my prediction is going to be that Zabdir gets this one and one more, maybe, because the third one is going to eke past the timer ticking 0. And for those of you that don't know, Race Room isn't like the F1 games. It's not like Gran Turismo. It's not like Assetto Corsa Competizione. As soon as that timer ticks to 0, you are done. Session is over. You get no more opportunities to finish your lap time. Doesn't care how high up on your lap time you are. Doesn't care if you are on for pole. That's it. You're done. You need to time your runs as best as possible, and hope that it falls into a nice window, and hope that you can put in the lap time when it counts. Similar to Marius Abdir. As it stands, a 10.5 quicker than Lloyd Bidoff over the course of the lap. That was a 10.5 quicker to the middle sector and 0.2 quicker in the first sector, so a net gain of nearly 0.4 of a second. Brilliant stuff. But now all the pressure comes down to the final few corners. Is he going to knock himself onto provisional pole? We'll find out in about 30 seconds time. The pole, who has put it on pole so many times over the course of this season and just defended from it. Thinking back to Portimao, Silverstone for one of the qualifying sessions. Just off the top of my head, I think maybe he got it at Zandvoort as well. But again, not entirely sure. He is so good when it comes to qualifying. He puts the car on the limit and dances it. Rich Weatherall goes up to a season best, I think, of 8 if he qualifies there and stays there. But Marius Abdir, I think, is going to put a bit of a rainy day on that one across the line. Is it going to be provisional pole? No. 44 thousandths of a second, half a tenth off his championship rival of Lloyd Bidoff. That final sector wasn't necessarily as good as Marius Abdir would have hoped, and this is his final run in qualifying, because, as I say, after that he won't get enough time to finish it. So it all comes down to this in a championship deciding race. There's Marko Misevic, by the way. Purple to the first, green to the middle, and for those of you that can see next to the green, it says plus 3.382. That doesn't mean he's 3.82 slower on his lap time. He still has improved on his overall best. It's more just a case of he's 0.3 off of what Lloyd Bidoff, or the fastest sector through that particular, the fastest driver through that particular section, had done. That's what he's 3.5 off, not himself. He has still improved. Is it going to be an improvement of position? It's up to 4th for the Serbian. Again, 3rd place in the championship, doing a brilliant job. Consistent as ever. But I'm interested in that fight for pole. Lloyd Bidoff, Marius Abdir. As I say, championship implications on the line. Lloyd Bidoff needs a perfect run. He needs to really continue that run of form of race victories to have much of a chance. Put the pressure on Zabdir and see how he gets on. And Lloyd Bidoff, it might well be too little too late. but he is doing everything in his power. From that moment that he took to the Red Bull ring, he said, you know what, I'm switching on and I'm going for it, and I'm sending the moves, and I'm sending my way through the circuit, and I'm just driving the car on the limit. That's what he needs to do again today. Through the qualifying session, he's proved that. Through race 1, I don't doubt it. Through race 2, difficulties to overtake. Who knows what could happen throughout the 40 minutes of racing action that we have got here on display. Marko Misevic purple to the first sector by a couple of tenths, shows that Lloyd Biddulph has got a couple of tenths wiggle room to maybe extend the advantage for pole position through Skyline. The S's, I would not want to do that in a front wheel drive car, it must be said. It's hard enough in a GT3 car where you've got grip, where you've got the rear wheel drive, let alone in one of these. 36,000 slower to the middle sector, so close but not quite close enough to see him purple. Forest Elbow, one of the most important corners on the circuit. It's all about the drive that you get, using the downhill run to build your momentum, climb through the revs as you run your way back uphill over the crest, and then continue your way through the Conrod straight in towards the chase. Again, we'll wait and see what Misevic can do. 6.5 tenths off pole position as he rounds off his final lap of the session. He's only got Murray's corner left to go, the final corner of this session. Is he going to get himself to pole? Is it going to be a front row? Is he going to get himself ahead of Vladisevic? Who knows? Only he does, and we will do too in about 2 seconds' time. When he crosses the line, when it refreshes, is it an improvement? It's third. 3 tenths off. His qualifying session's over, but it's a second row for Marko Misevic. Respectable stuff. The top 3 in the standings and the top 3 in the championship. Bit of a mismatched order, but Nenad Vladisevic, unfortunately, pulling over to round off his qualifying session. Zabdir, Biddulph, what are they looking like? Pascal Jean-Petre, maybe as well. There is the Swissman. Not a bad first. Lackluster middle. James Beckett tops him to 5th. So Pascal is going to need something. 3 tenths to be exact through Murray's and the final sector if he wants to not be on the back end of the third row. 30 seconds on the clock. Over the curb, foot to the floor. Is it 5th? Is it 4th? Is it 6th? It's 6th. Qualifying then draws to a close, and it is Lloyd Biddulph on his bid to championship glory. A 2:14.542, 44 thousandths of a second clear than Mariusz Zabdir, who will join him for company on the front row. Marko Misevic, Nenad Vladisevic once again make it a Serbian second row. James Beckett, your top 5, with Pascal Jean-Pierre keeping him for company on that run in towards Hell Corner. Simon Trebek, Alan Axon P7 and P8 with Stu Neal and Rich Wetherill, your top 10. Jules Oyster narrowly missing out by a couple of tenths. He'll join the grid in P11 with Rus Butcher with him on row 6. Shebo Slovac, the Hungarian, and Polly Flack, your 14-strong field for the Bathurst Circuit Mount Panorama, the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship, Event 7, races 13 and 14 is about to get it underway. A 2-minute warm-up before we get to the formation lap. My name is Zach Sweeney. I'm just going to run away, get a drink extremely quickly because my throat is on fire, so we can deliver the absolute best action that we possibly can for what should be a race to remember. Moments away from the 5 red lights and the green flag here for race 13 of the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship, the inaugural running of the championship. The drivers will take to the grid, lining up 2 wide as they take the short run in towards turn number 1. The championship separated by 17 points after what seemed to be a runaway from Marius Sabdir. What can he do in order to stake his claim with only 4 races to go? Here at Bathurst for 2, and a week's time to Donington for the final 2 as well. A close qualifying session. 44 thousandths of a second between the 2 championship rivals, and all Serbian second row as well. But we are about to find out. Lloyd Bidoff and Marius Sabdir keep each other company on row 1. The 5 red lights are on, 20 minutes on the clock. Race number 13 for the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship here at Mount Panorama is go. And it's a good start from Marius Sabdir on the outside line as they barrel their way in towards turn number 1 for the first time. Lloyd Bidoff holds firm on the inside, bit of argy-bargy. Marius Sabdir goes for the lead. Outside line as he runs his Alfa Romeo over the curb. Now it's a straight track fight as they hurdle their way towards Griffin's Bend for turn number 2. Marko Misevic and then Bathurst jostling over third in the background as well. Lloyd Bidoff will be stuck on the outside as they run their way through the very, very long turn number 2. Advantage is going to swing the way of Marius Sabdir as the rest of the field try and negotiate their way through. Late on the brakes from the pole, who moves his way up into first place and tries to get one hand on the trophy of race number 1 in order to really foment his championship charge. Through the cutting, and now Sabdir has taken control of the situation. All he's got to do for the next 19 minutes is defend, defend, defend. Hold the inside line and do not let anyone through. He is bulletproof in his defense. That Alfa Romeo might look narrow, but in the hands of Sabdir, it becomes a tank, it becomes a weapon, it becomes a barricade. Through McPhillamy Park once more, and Sabdir's aim probably might be to lure Lloyd Bidoff into a trap, in the sense of Misevic and Vladisevic, or not. It's a mistake. He's off. He's in the barrier. Marius Sabdir tumbling down. He's going to rejoin the circuit. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. He's tumbling. Is it going to be all the way to last place? He settles in P13. Lloyd Bidoff touches the barrier on the exit of Forest Elbow as well. Could that be the championship defining moment? Lloyd Bidoff now under pressure from Misevic after a mistake. It's not been a good start from the 2 championship leaders, but a little bit better, it must be said, from Lloyd Bidoff, whose only problem is losing the lead, not once but twice. Sabdir might have lost the championship with that one mistake through the dipper. Side by side between Misevic and Bidoff, who moves his way up a couple of places. Vladisevic wants a piece of the pie as well. Contact, and Bidoff is sent cut over the chase. He rejoins next to Marko Misevic. Going to get a hefty slowdown with that one. It's elbows out for the first lap in Bathurst. There we go, the Renault Megane as well. Pascal Jean-Pierre trying to survive the melee. Lloyd Bidoff, a scary moment on a day that is perfect for him to reap the rewards, to get the win, to get the points ahead of Marius Sabdir. He needs something, and that's what he's doing, side by side with the man that sent him off at the chicane. Has he got the slipstream though with James Beckett, who has picked his way up to second? All of them deciding which line to take. It's oval style here in Australia. No movement though. Beckett able to hold firm side by side between Vladisevic and Pascal Jean-Pierre. Volkswagen Golf tries to go the long way round. Is going to lose out a little bit with Trippsix haunting in the background. Outside line for the cutting. It's a move we saw a number of times on Friday for the 2-hour event, but not one we're going to see in these touring cars. What a start that was, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in if you are just joining us in the Trippsix Motorsport YouTube channel. I can see 13 of you currently tuning in. Well, 12 of you, excluding myself. Pleasure to have you all, of course. And my name is Zach Sweeney, and you might have well witnessed the moment that could have pivoted Lloyd Bidoff to win the championship. Slide there from Stu Neal, getting the rear end a little bit squirrely through McPhillamy Park. Oh, Simon Trippsix doing the same thing. His Renault Megane is out of shape. He's into the barrier. He rejoins Stu Neal, able to pick his way past Alan Axon as well. It seems that Bathurst is striking on these touring cars bit by bit. It is taking victims, taking no prisoners, no mercy shown from the mountain. And And do you expect any less? It's renowned in motorsport for a reason, for the kangaroos on the track, for the trees blocking the road. The Aussies, well, they're the Aussies. They go down under and, well, they've probably been upside down for a bit too long with their crazy ideas. But the crazy ideas, one of the craziest ideas was Mount Panorama, this beloved circuit, and what the action that it is bringing. 15.5 minutes left to go. Marko Misevic from Lloyd Bidov, Jean-Pietro Beckett and Vladisevic, your top 5. Bit of a runaway from the Serbian as it stands. P3 on the grid up to first after heartbreak for Marius Abdir and a poor run from Bidov. What a start. Wow. Owen Wilson style, the whole, do I dare attempt? Do I need to warm up? The whole, you know, the wow. That was alright, actually. Not too bad. I think because I'm sick, that's the excuse I'll give if I've offended Owen Wilson. But yeah, what a start. Interesting stuff. And it's not over. We're only a quarter of the way through. Well, an eighth of the way through if you count race 2. Not bad. Not bad at all. Misevic continues to grow the advantage out in front as well as Vladisevic. I'll get that name right one day, I promise. He's not corrected me, so I'm assuming it's okay. Vladisevic is what I'm going with. The Volkswagen Golf driver, who currently sits 4th in the standings, trying to move his way up into 4th in this race. The very strong Renault Megane of James Beckett is in front of him, and looking to the inside of McPhillamy, the space opens up as the Renault understeers. Is there going to be any movement? He looks be a bit more clever. Yeah, good idea from the Volkswagen Golf, just to think a little bit better about that one. The gap for the lead coming down though. Misevic and Bidov now only separated by 1.8 seconds. A 4/10 closure from Bidov over the course of the last lap, and with about 6 left to go, what is on the cards? Slipstream from 3rd to 5th. Hello, OG, and yeah, Jen is what we'll go with. Hello to you. Nice to have you in the YouTube chat. Pleasure to accommodate you. If you have just joined us, go back about 2 minutes and watch the start. Championship defining moment. Huge, huge, pivotal moment this late on in the championship. But a pleasure to have you in, and pleasure to have everyone joining in. I don't bite, I promise. You are allowed to send in your thoughts, your feelings, your queries, your questions, anything in the YouTube chat, and I'll be sure to address them. Well, convenient. Marius Abdir making his first move forward ahead of Lovash for P12. 6 seconds up to Rich Wetherill. But as it stands, Marius Abdir isn't even going to benefit off the reverse grid pole position. That is how low down he is. And he's only got 12 minutes to gain 7 seconds to Russ Butcher and get past him as well. Here's a fight. Stu Neal, Alan Axon. They've got Trebek and Oyser just in behind. Through McPhillamy. The quick flick to the left. Did have quite a lot of fun actually on the Bathurst 2 hour. If you haven't gone and watched it, I very much suggest you do. It was me and Lewis McGlade, and we had Darragh Thacker with us for the first time in Race Room. He come and jumped in. He's also one of my Norfolk buddies. He's technically in Suffolk, but sort of Thetford really does kind of count as Norfolk. I identifies as a Norfolkian because he's a Norwich fan, which I don't know if that constitutes as you being a Norfolkian, but it's fine. I accept him anyways. We had a lot of banter, a lot of fun. It was a very, very good race, it must be said. Down to the wire, and separated by not much across the line. Brilliant bit of racing, brilliant strategy all the way through. Kept you on your toes for 2 hours. Speaking of things you should go and watch, the side-by-side moments actually, we'll come back to that in just a second. James Beckett versus Vladisevic through the chase. The Golf does look eager. Not quite close enough into Murray's. You should also go for the Touring Car Sim Racing League as well. The Wednesday nights broadcasted over on their YouTube channel. They've kickstarted their season and they continue to do it every Wednesday night. So if you want more touring cars throughout your week, head over to them. I'm sure there's a link somewhere or rather, whether it be on the Trippsix Motorsport Discord or in the YouTube somewhere. Go and look, I'm sure there is one, or just try and find them on Facebook. I'm sure maybe there's a couple of spaces left if you want to get yourself involved, and be on the lookout maybe for future Trippsix championships as well. Not quite confirmed what's on the cards maybe for season 2, but season 1 has proved to be very popular and very amazing. The gap opens up from the Serbian to the inside of Beckett, gives him the outside as they run their way in towards the cutting. He backs off and lifts off because there's no way through, no up and under either. We took our way towards halfway in this race. 10 minutes and 2 seconds, 1 second, halfway done. Race 13 of this season. Side by side in the background as well, Axel and Trippsix trying to fight over 7th place. Through Solomon, this left-hander, and then you rise up the crest. The advantage is going to swing the way of Alan Acton. However, Trippsix with the momentum soars that Renault Megane all the way around the outside of McPhillamy Park into Skyline of the S's. Brilliant move and keeps 7th place. Lovely job. He's still squirrely though. A lot of these cars out of shape. Still out of shape. Trippsix really struggling. And my best guess is because a lot of the weight of the cars is on the front end. A lot of the driving is on the front end. It does, as you dip down, put all of the weight on the front and not a lot on the rear end. So any slight movement in the rear end has less mass, therefore less inertia, therefore wants to move easier. The less inertia it has, the more willing it is to change what it's currently doing, in the simplest terms. And that's why maybe downhill there's a little bit of a twitch, as Vladisevic doesn't really care where he gets it done as long as he's ahead and can see James Beckett in his rear view mirror up to 4th place for the man 4th place in the championship with 8 minutes and 45 seconds left to go. But yeah, maybe the struggle in these touring cars is the fact that the rear end is so light and any change of direction is so sensitive on the rear end. So much so that it just pivots around, like we saw with Zabd here, like we saw with Beckett and Trippsix at some points throughout the race. 17 of you watching along at home, pleasure to have you. Of course, my name is Zach Sweeney. This is the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship. Don't be shy to drop a like on the stream, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications if you're interested, and just come and say hello in the YouTube chat. Again, as I say, I'd like to think of myself as a very lovely person, so if you want to come in and have a chat, any questions, predictions, thoughts on the championship as a whole, who you are, I don't know, whatever you want. Again, I'm here for the next 30 minutes or so in terms of racing action. Bit of a tap on the wall from the Golf. Able to keep it pointing in the right direction though. Checking in actually with the fight at the front, because Marko Misevic has stabilised the gap to Lloyd Biddulph at around about 2 seconds. We saw the gap close and then open again, then close again, then open again. There is your race leader. Marko Misevic, again, out in front, mastering the mountain, capitalising off the misfortune of others, and is searching for his first race victory of the season. So far has boasted a 3rd place, 3 2nd places, 2 4th places, and 4 6th places, but nothing on the top step. And today is his perfect opportunity to do so. He's 3rd in the championship, 155 points to his name. Marko Misevic has been a standout driver, but not one to take victory. Could that change here down under in Australia? This side-by-side go Alan Axton and Simon Trippsix through the chase. The Renault has the inside. The Alfa Romeo of Axton, though, swoops his way to the outside, gives him the inside and the braking zone in towards the chase, and he's able to stay ahead for 7th place. Trippsix demoted to 8th and staying in 8th. Riding on board the rear view mirror. Over the rear wing, Alan Axton semi-defensive. No gap on the outside, though, for the Renault. The Dutchman of Shaw's Oyster, Lumen, quite daunting in the background, but a good run out of Murray's. The short pitch straight. And could Trippsix pick his way through on the inside? The outside line, if you can brake late enough, is quite good. As you can see, that not quite able to brake on the dirtier side of the circuit was the Renault, but it's all about how efficiently you can put your foot to the floor and maybe see yourself past on this back straight run towards Griffin's Bend, Quarry Bend, whatever you want to call it. Shaw's Oyster pulling out, bringing it back. No changes for 7th, 8th or 9th. With a mere 5 minutes left to go. .9 separates the top two. Gap at the front coming down ever so slightly. Marko Misevic to Lloyd Bidoff now 1.7 seconds, but with 2 laps left to go, I'm not overly convinced he's going to be able to close the gap, particularly if Pascal Jean-Pietro gets a little bit impatient and calls it quits on the mutual alliance that they've got to try and close the gap to the lead as it stands. But Lloyd Bidoff has a reputation to uphold. He's got a winning streak to uphold, and maybe that could motivate him to do a little bit better. On to the penultimate lap of this race. .6. It's going to take a barnstorming couple of laps, but a poor run from Lloyd Bidoff could put him under pressure from the Swissman, who was actually giving him a push. He's playing game. He's ball with this strategy, giving him a bit of a bump draft. Look at how close he is. He could so easily pull out and go for the move, but doesn't. Great sportsmanship, great racecraft from the pair of them. Seeing the bigger objective, they still have a chance. They can see Misevic. All it takes is one slip up, one wheel through the gravel, and they are in. They're secure, their foot's through the door, and they might well still have a chance for the lead. That is what Jean-Pietro is riding on, is hoping for, is that Lloyd Bidoff, with the Swissman's help, can close the gap, and he can pick his way through on the pair of them on the final stages of this race. Through Skyline, the left, the right, the left of the dip, a bit of lap traffic. That's Polly Flack. Oh no, it's not. That's Marko Misevic. Oh my word. Right, I am gonna leave. That is me done for the day. I think my Specsavers appointment is around the corner, so I need to go and get that checked out. I am ever so sorry to Marko Misevic for calling him a back marker. Also incredibly sorry to Polly Flack for assuming he's a lap down. Yeah, that's me cancelled. That's my sim racing career over. It's been a nice one, guys. Pleasure to know you. Remember the name for that one guy that insulted a driver and called him a back marker despite the fact he's led the race since lap 2. Bit dodgy. Completely understandable if Rich Rutherford doesn't want to hire me for any future seasons or any future indulgences for Trippsix Motorsport. On to the final lap, and Beckett and Vladisevic are still having their little squabble for 4th place. Mariusz Sabtir, though, slowly building his way up. He's now into P10, which is going to be reverse grid pole position. Maybe the fortunes could swing for the championship leader. Lloyd Bidoff is going to be riding on those extra few points for the win relative to 2nd place. It could be the difference in a week's time. Let's not forget, 1.3 seconds is the gap. 1.5 minutes on the clock, 2/3 of a lap. Around about 4 kilometers of racing left to go for race 13 of this season. Race 1 of event 7, ducking, diving, searching James Beckett, looking for the gap. Unfortunately unable to find it. No advancements for 4th place. 1.2, Marko Misevic, Lloyd Bidoff. All it comes down to is that run. Hothering, flirting over that 1 second barrier. Misevic is probably going to be the longest final half of a lap that he has ever seen. Lloyd Biddulph, he does not want to see that checkered flag. He wants to see one more lap, but he's not going to get it. I think Misevic has played this to perfection, and he might see his first victory of the season. This fight, though, far from settled. Through McPhillamy, 40 seconds on the clock. Skyline in the S's for the final time, and Vladislav is extending the gap bit by bit, but Beckett on the limit. Again, it all comes down to this run out of Forest Elbow. 1 second. Whoa, is Misevic going to hang on to the pressure? There he is, out of Forest Elbow for the final time. And unless there's miracles on Lloyd Biddulph, I don't want to speak too soon, but Misevic has looked so composed, so quick, so consistent. The Triple C for Marko Misevic. He has 3 corners left to go in race number 1 of the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship. Event 7 here at Bathurst. Mount Panorama. It's not going to be tamed by many, but Marko Misevic from 3rd on the grid has got 1 more corner. Murray's to negotiate. Then it's all about just making sure he can put his foot to the floor, run to the line, see the checkered flag first. For the first time this season, Marko Misevic takes the flag in Bathurst and wins down under for race number 1 of this evening. Lloyd Biddulph and Pascal Jean-Pierre the podium. The win streak is broken, but the podium streak is not. Biddulph closes the gap at the top of the standings. Mariusz Zabda ends up 9th. Reverse grid front row for him. Brilliant stuff. Boki Obradovic is very much a Marko Misevic fan. On fire. He was indeed. We'll run you through the full grid order as soon as we can. But it's going to be a tough climb, a tough ask from Lloyd Biddulph in race 2 to keep that momentum up and get onto the back of Mariusz Zabda, who's going to be hoping for more throughout race 2 to solidify any sort of a gap that he has going into Donington Park in a week's time. Just waiting, I think, for the last couple of drivers to cross the checkered flag. And here we go. Marko Misevic, your race winner. Lloyd Biddulph and Pascal Jean-Pierre join him on the podium. Fastest lap goes the way of the Swissman, a 2:14.5. Very quick lap. Nenad Vladislav, James Beckett, your top 5 were Alan Axon and Stu Neal, 6th and 7th. Simon Tribeck, P8. All eyes, though, on Mariusz Zabda in P9. Front row for the reverse grid. Russ Butcher will join him on the front row, slightly ahead once more into the run in towards turn number 1. Charles Oyster, 11th to 11th. Rich Weatherall, P12. Benny Norton and Poddy Flack, 13th and 14th. And the lone DNF of the Hungarian of Lovash. That brings an end to race number 1, the first half of our coverage here on the Trippsix Motorsport YouTube channel. My name has been Zach Sweeney. We're going to take just a second to swap over the sessions. We'll be back in a few minutes' time. Don't go anywhere. We are go for race number 2, the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship, race 14, as they barrel their way in towards turn 1 once more. Risk Butcher on the front row, Marius Sabdi joins him, he stays in second, though the advantage may swing. The Audi RS3 pulls to the right-hand side, but the advantage goes the way of Sabdi, who freight trains his way through with Trebek, Neal and Axton all in tow. Where is Lloyd Bidoff? He started P9, he's up to 8th, up to 7th now, picking his way through the traffic in towards Griffin's Bend for the first time, and it's Zabdi that leads from Trebek, Neal, Axton and Vladisavich on top 5. Lloyd Bidoff up to 6, making the most of the opening stages in this race. He cannot afford to let Zabdi get away. The cutting for the first time. Beckett under a bit of pressure, putting Bidoff under a bit of pressure. They run side by side through, and it goes the way of Bidoff, able to edge his way ahead of the Renault Megane. He is not waiting around, he is not putting a second to waste, and he is not letting a car get in between him and an extra 50 pounds side by side as Misevic, the race 1 winner, tries to pick his way through the traffic in a similar fashion into McPhillamy Park, and Lloyd Bidoff. There's no more advancements, nor does Misevic. Zabdir, his chances in this race, he needs to get away. He needs to minimize mistakes. He needs to get rid of Trebek and run his own race. But that's easier said than done. Lloyd Bidoff picks his way past Stu Neal with a poor run through the dip. Marko Misevic, very aggressive through, sideways goes the Renault, he spins it, he holds it through Forest Elbow, only losing 1 position. My goodness me, how has he managed to do that? He was on ice as he broke downhill in towards the most important corner on the circuit. James Beckett somehow still in 7th, Lloyd Bidoff somehow up to 5th, and Marius Sabdi doing all the right things in the opening moments. That gap is clear. 1.1 seconds now back to Simon Trebek as the podium fight continues. Vladisavljevic up now to 3rd, Alan Axton 4th, Lloyd Bidoff, a man on a mission. Action is plentiful. We never have an absence of it. .3 seconds, Zabdir leads the first lap. Inside line, Lloyd Bidoff not waiting around versus Alan Axton, who gives the space. Outside, Misevic tries to follow him through. Similar to karting, the outside, you get left there, you get hung up to drive. The inside opens up and boom, someone's there. Someone's preying on the vulnerability. However, the vulnerability now swings the way of Misevic, who tries to find the space in traffic as to not lose the slipstream. Here comes James Beckett trying to launch a counter-attack. He gets the slipstream off Axton on the cleaner space of the circuit. Late braking from the Alfa Romeo of Misevic, though, not quite good enough, not quite late enough to find his way back into the top 5. Axton is slow, Misevic is there, alongside, inside for the race 1 winner. Claims the apex, claims the corner, jobs are good, he's in 5th. Lloyd Bidoff needs a dispatch of Vladisavljevic and Trebek as soon as possible and get on Marius Sabdi for the rest of this race. Even if it's 2nd, the gap between 2nd and 9th should more than cover that and give him a good chance going into Donington Park to really take a championship to the wire and make it interesting. What honestly I thought was going to be championship done after Luciano Vitvuit had a poor showing at a couple of circuits, not quite able to match Marius Sabdi. Lloyd Bidoff has arrived on the scene and has delivered in bucket loads as we tick off nearly the first quarter of this race already. Side by side as Trebek tries to go to the outside, gives him the inside, but he's not late enough on the brakes. The Volkswagen Golf keeps 2nd. Meanwhile, Lloyd Bidoff reels them in bit by bit, slowly but surely looming in the background, but he's got to be careful because here comes Marko Misevic, got the advantage on pace. Too wide, too deep as well as Beckett and Axton in the background. The Alfa Romeo sends the move to the outside and gets the drive, or does he? Because there goes Beckett, now on the left-hand side of shot, the right-hand side of the circuit, cleaner side for braking. Outside line as well, if he can get on the power a little bit earlier, use the curve as a bit of extra tarmac as well, and well, surely that's going to be his 6th place. Alan Axton as well has got no slipstream, he's got no help, and Stu Neal and Pascal Jean-Pietre are going to look very, very tasty at this. to pick their way through. Tucking in front, Beckett. Stu Neal on the inside though. Outside for Axton through Griffins, gets given the space, gets given the run. Inside for the cutting. Advantage goes the way then of the 7th place man. Sideways goes Neal. That's going to allow the Swissman of Jean-Pierre through. Or is it? It's going to give him a good go. Flying the Swiss colours, the red and white. In that order. Three and a half seconds. Zabdir to second. 5 seconds. Zabdir to Bidov. Oh, that's off. That's Axon into the barrier in a very similar fashion to what we saw from Zabdir in race 1. He's out of the top 10. He's out of the fight. And that is his race 2 dreams come to a close in the opening 6 minutes. Pascal Jean-Pierre put it up to 8th place then. And here is race 1 winner Marko Misevic. Not able to move past Lloyd Bidov, but they've both made some steady progress through the field. As they zip their way past the camera, through the chase. In the chase is Marko Misevic. On the hunt is Lloyd Bidov. He's got a championship on the line. He has a campaign to run, to succeed. And at the moment, breathing down the neck of Simon Trebek. And I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Breathing down the neck of a podium. 4 tenths back. Breathing down the neck of 2nd place. Vladisevic is mighty in his defence. It's been all season long. I think back to Zandvoort most notably, where he kept the train of God knows how many cars behind for so long. And he's going to try and do that once again. It's all aboard the Gulf Express. Inside line, Simon Trebek follows. There's no space, so he pulls out to the left. No way through on the outside, so he tucks back into situ, tucks back in behind the Volkswagen Golf. And Lloyd Bidov is having to bide his time. Wait for the opportunity, wait for the gap to open up. Then you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to fill that space. Up and over the crest. Through the dip. Up once more. Through Solomon into McPhillamy. And Bidov looks menacing. Don't do that. Oh my word. Honestly thought he was going to go for that. That was bizarre. Through the S's, then the dipper. Car lifts up. Approach halfway and Zabdir has a healthy lead. The fight for second rages on. Vladisevic, Trebek, Bidov, Misevic. 4 cars in the fight. Has that Renault got the straight line speed, or is the French engine going to give up before the time they even get there? Close, not close enough. 3 tenths is the gap as they slam on the anchors for the chase. Through the left, then the right, and this is exactly what Trebek needs to sort of do while he's stuck behind Vladisevic for so long. Analyse him, see where he's quickest, see where he can find a way through. But the good thing about the Serbian is that he's defending in such a way that is almost bulletproof. He's quick where he needs to be quick. He covers the inside line where he needs to cover the inside line. And he knows where Trebek will and won't go for the move. He knows where he can defend. And Vladisevic is such a good defender because of that. Like right now, he knows what he needs to do, and that's be on the inside. He doesn't need to wait to react to what Trebek does. He knows that he needs to defend on this run. He also knows that Trebek is going to try and use the slingshot to best effect. He knows that he's going to pull out to the left and try to go to the outside, but he also knows that Bidov might be able to fill the space on the inside. No, he doesn't. You definitely can tell that he thought about it. Up through the mountain. Oh, into the barrier. That is Marko Misevic, just side by side. Lloyd Bidoff gets the run through. Inside line, and that's no contest for him. Up to third, with half the race left to go. Through McPhillamy, and now has eyes on Vladislavic for second. 2 second places on a day where Zabd is going to go from 9th and 1st. That is a good day in the office, a good points all gain from Lloyd Bidoff. But the hard work does not end there. He's got to get in front and stay in front. Not make any mistakes. Set the car up in such a position that he can put his foot down, stay in the slipstream, and go for the move. Lloyd Bidoff is not interested in waiting around. He will not fiddle about like Trippsix did. If he sees an opportunity, he is going to go for it. He's going to put everything on the line. That is a man closing the gap in the championship. It's all or nothing from Lloyd Bidoff. 3/10 is the gap. Through the chase. Reaching speeds of 260 kilometers an hour as they slam on the brakes down to third gear. Using the higher gearage to maximize the traction, limit the RPM slip on the exit. Inside, he thought about it. Bidoff does not have any intention of waiting around. Inside now, once again tucks back in, filling the mirrors of Vladislavic, putting him under pressure, forcing the hand, forcing the mistake, calling his bluff. Which way is the Volkswagen going to go? It's inside, there's no space, so Lloyd Bidoff goes left. Drag race towards Griffin's Bend. He's got the overlap. Has he got the bravery? Simon Trippsix, he knows, is in the background. He's got his nose ahead, up in a second place for now. He's got to be brave on the brakes, use the cleaner side of the circuit, use the racing line, saws his way through. In the mirrors there on the right-hand side, you can see the Volkswagen. The advantage swings the way a bit off, who now has the inside line going through the cutting. Is there going to be an almighty send from the Serbian? No, there's not. On the brakes, close to contact. Lloyd Bidoff gets a lucky escape. Wide goes the Golf. Inside line for Trippsix. Picks his way through onto the podium. And Vladislavic goes from second to fourth in the span of one corner. Lloyd Bidoff up to second, minimising the gap to his championship rival. .3 seconds, and now, while it's not going to be the 2 second a lap advantage that Lloyd Bidoff needs, be interesting to see how much he can close. What a race to have while I'm sick, by the way. It was the same with Portimao. I'd lost my voice because of Silverstone, actually. It was because of Silverstone. I'd lost my voice a little bit. And then we go into Portimao, and it's just a crazy race from start to finish. Actually, no, it was Zandvoort, then Portimao, and I still had a little bit of a ting for Portimao. And they were brilliant races, as they always are for this season. But for the penultimate round of the championship, where we've had Zabdir have a crash and Bidoff have moments, the side-by-side, Vladislavic to the inside of Trippsix, are they going to continue their run too wide as they run their way out of the chase? I think Trippsix is able to hang on, defensive though into Murray's. But yeah, what a race to decide to have all that. On the day that I'm sick and sound like a wet weasel. But Marko Misevic, now it's a four-way fight for second, turned into a three-way fight for third, with maybe James Beckett looming in the background as well, with 2 laps left to go. Well, 3 laps left to go, including this one. In the slipstream, Misevic has proved his worth, he's proved his might, he's proved his pace. Nothing proved on the brakes though into turn 2. Alan Axon once again having trouble, down to 13th. Russ Butcher and Polly Flack already out of this race. 14th and 15th for them. Side by side though as Marko Misevic sends the move to the outside of the Renault. What a move that is through the cutting. Oh my word, the race 1 winner up to 4th place in style. Simon Trippsix caught napping there. Marko Misevic around the outside through one of the trickiest complexes on the circuit, and that is saying something around Bathurst. I know Obradovic is going to love that in the YouTube chat, singing his praises for Serbia. Now through McPhillamy sideways for Vladislavic. The pressure is on, the tyres are a little bit worn. A quarter of the race left to go, and the gap closes as they hurtle the way downhill. Commitment only. Forest Elbow. And there's just under 5 minutes left on the clock. The next time by will be the penultimate lap. Marius Abdir from Lloyd Bidoff. That gap is plateaued. Not really much to say about that one. And there we go. The shock of Boki's face. He loved that move and he's hoping for more. Marko Misevic on the charge for the podium. But what can Vlasovic do to retain this podium? Because he's got quite a few of them actually over the course of the season. Let me just double check and get my facts right. There we go. He's already up there. Second at race 2 at Silverstone. And since then actually hasn't seen the podium. So he's hoping for his second. And my memory's coming back to me actually. Last time at Imola, he was on course for a second place. And unfortunately, his spin got in the way of that. So Vlasovic is going to want some redemption here on the penultimate lap of Bathurst and try his best to keep the Race 1 victor at bay. A newly crowned race winner in the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship. Becomes one of only 3, I believe. Unless Luciano Vitford had won one of 4 to win a race. Joining such big names. Primarily those in the championship hunt. But a lap and a half, a lap and 2/3 left to go. The gap for the lead not changing. Gregor is happy about the race so far. It's lovely to see. Nice to see all your contributions in the YouTube chat. Pleasure to have you. What a couple of races this has been. And unfortunately it has to come to an end. Marius Abdir, Lloyd Bidoff. 2 titanic drivers, 2 tyrants of this championship up until now, taking the vast majority of all the wins, all the podiums, all the points. They've been ebbing and flowing all season long, down each other's throats very recently after the resurgence from Lloyd Bidoff, and today has really taken a turning point after the mistake from Zabdir saw him finish 9th in race 1 while Lloyd Bidoff finished 2nd. And now in race 2, there's only 1 position between them and only a handful of points going into the final round at Donington Park. Wow, couldn't really have asked for more, I'll be honest. The fight for the podiums, the fight amongst the midfield as well, has been nothing short of brilliance. Side by side here, Benny Norton with Shaw's Oyster into the chase. Nice bit of midfield fighting as the Audi sends the move back up the inside, trying to move his way up into 9th place. The gap might open up on the inside though if he waits out there long enough, sells the dummy. Nope. Starting now the final lap of race 2. Zabdir leads them round and he's only got 6 kilometers left to go to claim victory. Benny Norton in the slipstream then, on the final run in towards turn number 2. Is he close enough? Pulls out. Not quite. Not on the braking for long enough into Griffins to really send much of a move from that far back. A little bit wide from Norton. Oyster putting him on the back foot. Nicely done. 40 seconds on the clock. Where is Marius Zabdir? A bit of a tap there from Benny Norton as they ride their way up the hill. Zabdir on the final lap with just Forest Elbow really the only major obstacle between him and victory. 7.1 seconds back to Lloyd Bidoff. He's got the margin to take it nice and easy. As the fight for the podium fizzled out a little bit, 1.5 seconds between the 2 Serbians who have shared the second row quite a number of times throughout the course of this season. And they'll share 3 and 4 this race as well, unless Simon Trebek has got anything to say about Marko Misevic, because that fight for 4th is side by side. We'll keep our eye though on the race leader, Marius Zabdir, 3rd gear. He's been on the podium 9 times so far this season, 4 of them victories. He's about to add to that total and make it 10 and make it 5 in terms of P1s. He stakes a claim in the championship and keeps the points haul optimal going into the final round at Donington Park. Marius Sabdir takes race 2 here down under in Bathurst. Lloyd Biddulph, 7 seconds later, will minimise the damage of race 2 and finish second, closing this 17-point gap to the championship leader. What a finale we're going to have in a week's time when we take to Donington Park. Nenad Vladasevic will join in P3, his first podium of the season. Bravo to Vladasevic on his first since Silverstone, his only other than that second place. Marko Misic 4th, Simon Trippic 5th. We'll run through the final grid order as soon as we can. But Marius Sabdir, that was the most that he could do after the mistake in race 1. Lloyd Biddulph as well. Brilliant display, up 7 places. And here they are. Marius Sabdir, a good old point for fastest lap, is never going to go amiss as well with a 14.591 over the course of the 9-lap race. Lloyd Biddulph in second, Nenad Vladasevic for the second time this season in third, with Marko Misic and Simon Trippic your top 5. James Beckett in P6 with Pascal Jean-Pietro just behind. Stu Neilshaw, Oyster and Benny Norton your top 10. Once again, a good result from Norfolk Races there in 10th. Alan Axon P11, Rich Wetherill P12. Lovash, unfortunately P13, and Russ Butcher and Paddy Flack, unfortunately not taking to the checkered flag. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the penultimate round of the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship, and the championship is on. Sabdir, Biddulph, they have been on top of their game, pushing each other to the absolute limit for the last 8 weeks. And now it comes down to 2 races at one of the UK's best, the Donington National, on the 21st of May, rounds 15 and 16, event 8. The season finale takes place 8 p.m. BST for those in the UK. Translate that to wherever you are around the world, because you are not going to want to miss this. £340 on the line for the Championship 3, plus the extra 40 on the side as well, included in that £340. My name has been Zach Sweeney. This has been the Trippsix Motorsport Super Touring Championship. Be there on the 21st of May, because Marius Sabdir and Lloyd Biddulph duke it out for one more time this season, and we'll find out who's going to be crowned the inaugural Super Touring Championship. In the meantime, guys, take care, and unfortunately, it's going to be a very suspenseful goodbye.